Good morning, Mr. Quesada.
Good morning.
The conclusions of the European Committee of Social Rights have recently been made public. Could you give us a bit of background on the rights which are covered in these conclusions, please?
Well, last year, in 2011, the conclusion dealt with several provisions dealing specifically with children, not only under the labor market, but also the protection within family, as well as other vulnerable groups, as is the case of migrant workers and the members of families, and also the protection of employed women in the cases of maternity, protection of maternity, as well as conciliation of family and professional life, in this case including, of course, men. And unfortunately, we don't have the possibility of assessing the situation with regard to other provisions because of the thematic groups we have. That's why it would be interesting to modify the reporting system in order to give the possibility to the committee to react for other controversial situations instead of waiting for 2 or 3 years in the next cycle. The other possibility we have to react for these controversial situations is the collective complaints procedure. But in this case, unfortunately, once again, the collective complaints procedure has been accepted only by 14 member states.
In the current economic crisis, it is significant that the committee has been working on rights relating to children, families and migrants, as these groups of the population are particularly vulnerable. Could you give some examples of where the work of the committee has shed light on non-respect of children's rights in the chapter?
Indeed, in the case of children's rights, we have specifically 2 provisions during the last cycle. Under Article 7, we deal with the situation of children in the labor market, and from this point of view, we have assessed situations concerning, for instance, the non-respect of the situation of children when we deal, for instance, with the daily and weekly working time, and also, for instance, in some legislations they are allowed for delivering newspapers in the morning from 6 to 8 in the morning before going to school, and that's against the full development of children. But not only in this case, but also in some legislations there is the possibility of giving up the annual holiday by one financial compensation, which is forbidden by the Charter, in order to not to, in this case, give up to relinquish fundamental rights. And we have also Article 17. In this case, Article 17, is the protection of children in a broad sense, also within the family. And in this case, the committee has assessed that there are many legislations nowadays in the Council of Europe, in the member state of the Council of Europe, not forbidden corporal punishment in the home, at school, or even in institutions. And according to the committee, it is necessary to explicitly prohibit this corporal punishment in order to protect children. And also in some legislations, it is possible to have children with adults in prisons, and that's also against the Charter for the protection of them.
Mm-hmm. Housing is a crucial right protected by Article 31 of the Charter. Can you give an overall idea of how this article is being applied in the states parties?
Well, the right to housing is recognized in Article 31 of the Charter, of the revised Charter, and this provision hasn't been accepted by all member states of the Council of Europe, as there are 33 member states having accepted the revised Charter. There is still 11 having accepted just the 1961 Charter, the original Charter, which doesn't recognize the right to housing. So, with regard to the content, the most controversial situation have been specifically when we talk to the access to social housing. In many countries and within the context of the crisis, they have suppressed and they have made difficult the access to social housing. But also in the context of the collective complaint procedure, we also have had some problems in some countries. For instance, when dealing with the right to housing of vulnerable groups, as Roma people, for instance. In the case of Portugal, for instance, in one collective complaint, we assessed the situation that there was spatial segregation from urban areas. That implies that they haven't access to important facilities, medical care, educational facilities, and so on. And also, we had a problem of, in the case of France, with eviction from Roma camps without respecting the procedural guarantees. And that doesn't mean that these two countries are not respecting in a bad way or in a worse way than other countries. It's simply because they have accepted to be submitted to the collective complaints procedure. But in the other countries, even when they don't accept the right to housing, the Article 31, we deal with the situation of housing under Article 16, which recognizes the protection of family, which one of the main Jewish means of protection of families is the right to housing. And we have also this problem of Roma people, I mean the non-respect of Roma people in many countries, this kind of segregation, racial segregation and so on.
Could you just say a few words on the next reporting cycle? Which rights are concerned? Will any new states participate in this exercise?
Well, in this case, the next cycle will deal with labor rights. The Article 1, which deals with the right to work, and it's very important in the context of the crisis because the right to work implies the full employment, and we have our employment rate in this country very, very, very difficult and very high, as we know, and we have also the vocational training, professional training, and we have also some rights dealing with the termination of work, the notice when when workers terminate their work, or protection of workers in case of insolvency of undertakings. So that's important in the context of a crisis. Why? Because nowadays, first of all, the countries having accepted the Charter, they face likewise the situation within the European Union. And the European Union is putting on the pressure member states in order to take some economical measures. And the problem here is that under the Charter we cannot reduce the protection of social rights. And one of the means of, in this case, having money for states, the ordinary means are to increase taxes or also to have the public debt. But as an ordinary means to have money is not the reduction of salaries, of wages. So that may imply a problem under the Charter. And which countries are involved in this new cycle? Fortunately, there will be 3 new countries next cycle. A big country, the Russian Federation, is the first time. It is going to be assessed by the committee, and also Serbia and Montenegro. They have accepted recently the Charter, so they are going to be assessed. And once again, I would like to highlight that unfortunately there are still 4 countries not having accepted at all the Charter, the original Charter or the revised Charter. 4 countries, the Liechtenstein, Switzerland, San Marino and Monaco. And I think it's a kind of contradiction with the pillars of the Council of Europe, because rule of law means likewise social state. Human rights mean likewise social rights. And democracy means likewise social democracy. So I think that we must encourage those states to accept this indivisibility of all human rights, civil and political rights, but also social rights.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.